The night was dark. Rain lashed against the windows of Seattle-Tacoma Airport. It was November 24, 1971. Among the hustle and bustle of the terminal, a man blended in seamlessly. He was unremarkable, average height, in his mid-40s. He wore a dark suit, a crisp white shirt, and a black tie. His hair was neatly combed, his face half hidden behind a pair of dark sunglasses. He carried himself with an air of quiet confidence. This man, who went by the name Dan Cooper, held a secret that would soon turn this ordinary flight into a heart-stopping drama. As he stepped onto the Boeing 727, he carried with him not just a briefcase but a plan. The plane taxied to the runway, its lights cutting through the gloom. Flight 305 was airborne, soaring towards its intended destination, unaware that its course, much like the stormy weather, was about to change dramatically. Dan Cooper settled into his seat, 18E, an aisle seat near the back of the plane. He ordered a bourbon and water from the flight attendant, Florence Schaffner. He lit a cigarette, his demeanor calm, almost aloof. Beneath the surface, however, a current of nervous energy pulsed. Florence Schaffner went about her duties, her movements practiced and efficient. He passed her a folded note, his fingers brushing against hers. The note was concise, direct, chilling in its simplicity. "I have a bomb," it read. Cooper's instructions were specific. $200,000 in unmarked bills, 4 parachutes. The news of the hijacking spread through the plane like wildfire. Whispers turned to hushed conversations, then to murmurs of fear and disbelief. Passengers exchanged anxious glances, their faces pale in the dim cabin lights. Cooper, however, remained an island of calm in a sea of growing panic. He sipped his bourbon, his eyes hidden behind his sunglasses, observing the reactions of those around him. The pilot, Captain William Scott, contacted air traffic control, his voice betraying no hint of the drama unfolding thousands of feet above the ground. He relayed Cooper's demands, his words measured and controlled. The safety of his passengers and crew was paramount. Negotiations began, a tense back and forth between the cockpit and the ground. Cooper wanted the plane to land in Seattle, where the money and parachutes would be waiting. His escape, as daring as it was improbable. The atmosphere crackled with tension. Every crackle of static from the cockpit's radio seemed amplified, each word heavy with unspoken threat. Captain Scott, his voice strained but steady, relayed Cooper's demands to the authorities. $200,000, 4 parachutes, and a non-negotiable deadline. On the ground, the FBI sprang into action. Agents swarmed Seattle-Tacoma Airport, transforming the bustling transportation hub into a scene of controlled chaos. Negotiators worked tirelessly, their voices calm and reassuring as they sought to buy time, to understand the enigmatic figure holding Flight 305 hostage. The pressure mounted. Cooper, true to his word, remained calm, even patient. As the negotiations continued, Cooper issued a series of precise instructions. The money, he specified, had to be in unmarked used bills delivered in a knapsack. He demanded 4 parachutes, 2 primary and 2 reserve, all in working order. The FBI, racing against the clock, scrambled to meet his demands. They assembled the ransom money, gathering bundles of 20s from local banks. Parachutes were requisitioned from a nearby skydiving school, each one carefully inspected, each strap checked and double-checked. On board Flight 305, the mood remained tense, a palpable fear hanging in the air. Passengers huddled together, seeking comfort in shared whispers and silent prayers. Cooper, throughout it all, remained an enigma. He interacted with the crew and passengers with a strange mix of politeness and authority. As the Boeing 727 approached Seattle-Tacoma Airport, the city lights glimmering below like a scattered constellation, a sense of anticipation gripped both those on board and those on the ground. The FBI, the ransom money and parachutes ready, waited anxiously for the plane to touch down. Every second ticked by with agonizing slowness. The runway lights guiding the aircraft in cut through the darkness, a beacon of hope in the midst of uncertainty. The wheels kissed the tarmac with a gentle thud, a collective sigh of relief rippling through the cabin. For a moment, it seemed like this ordeal might end peacefully, that Cooper might release the passengers and surrender to the authorities. But D.B. Cooper had other plans. This landing was merely another step in his meticulously crafted scheme. The atmosphere on board Flight 305 was thick with apprehension. The plane, now stationary on the tarmac, was a prisoner of its own shadow, caught in the glare of runway lights and the watchful eyes of law enforcement. Cooper, his demeanor unwavering, issued his next set of instructions. He allowed the passengers to disembark, their faces pale, their movements a mixture of relief and lingering fear as they filed off the plane and into the waiting arms of the authorities. The flight attendants, their ordeal far from over, remained on board, their professionalism masking their growing anxiety. Cooper's demands for refueling were met with a mix of urgency and trepidation. Every minute the plane remained grounded, every gallon of fuel pumped into its tanks increased the stakes of the situation. The FBI, desperate for a peaceful resolution, complied with his request, hoping that this act of cooperation might open a door to negotiation. As the fuel gauges crept upwards, the tension inside the plane ratcheted up another notch. The aircrew, their faces etched with fatigue and worry, followed Cooper's instructions to the letter. With the passengers safe and the fuel tanks full, Cooper directed the pilots to prepare for takeoff. His destination Mexico City, his route south over the vast and unforgiving expanse of the Pacific Northwest. The Boeing 727, now a vessel of mystery, taxied back onto the runway, its silhouette a dark omen against the backdrop of the stormy night sky. As the plane lifted off, its powerful engines battling against the wind and rain, a sense of unreality descended upon those on board. They were airborne once more, but this time, it felt different. The weight of what lay ahead, of the unknown that awaited them, pressed down on their chests, stealing their breath. Cooper, throughout it all, remained an enigma. He paced the aisle, his movements a study in controlled energy, his eyes still hidden behind those dark sunglasses scanning the cabin. Outside the storm raged on, lightning illuminating the dark underbelly of the clouds. Hours crawled by. The Boeing 727, now a tiny speck in the vast expanse of the night sky, continued its southward journey. Inside, the atmosphere was one of strained silence, punctuated by the hum of the engines and the occasional crackle of static from the radio. The crew, their initial fear giving way to a weary resignation, went about their duties with a mechanical precision. Cooper, true to his word, had allowed the flight attendants to bring him food and drink. He ate sparingly, his demeanor a curious mix of politeness and detachment. Then, sometime after 8 p.m., something extraordinary happened. The crew, responding to a change in air pressure, realized that the aft stairs located at the rear of the aircraft had been lowered. Cooper was gone. The radio fell silent, a silence that spoke volumes. Panic rippled through the cockpit as the chilling realization hit. Cooper was gone. The aft stairs, ajar against the backdrop of the storm-tossed night, were a silent testament to his audacious escape. The silence on the radio was deafening, amplifying the fear that gripped the remaining crew. They were alone, hurtling through the night sky in a plane that had become a crime scene. Captain Scott, his voice betraying his growing concern, contacted air traffic control. The news, when it crackled through the static, sent shockwaves through the authorities on the ground. D.B. Cooper had disappeared into the night, his escape as improbable as it was brazen. The manhunt, already massive in scale, was now a desperate race against time. The search for D.B. Cooper consumed the FBI's resources and manpower. The Pacific Northwest became a hunting ground for the elusive fugitive. Authorities left no stone unturned. Forests were meticulously searched. Divers plumbed the depths of rivers and lakes. The terrain posed a constant challenge. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The initial flurry of activity gave way to grim acceptance. The trail had gone cold. The man who hijacked a plane vanished without a trace. Still, the FBI refused to give up. They followed up on every lead, every tip. They interviewed hundreds, hoping to unlock the mystery of D.B. Cooper's disappearance. While the ground search continued, the FBI turned their attention to the skies, meticulously retracing the flight path of Flight 305. Experts in aviation, meteorology, and parachuting were brought in. Their collective knowledge and experience focused on understanding the challenges Cooper would have faced on that stormy November night. They analyzed wind patterns, air pressure, and the capabilities of the parachutes Cooper had demanded, hoping to narrow down his potential landing zone. Their findings, while inconclusive, offered tantalizing glimpses into the audacity of Cooper's escape. The storm, far from being a hindrance, had likely worked in his favor, masking his descent, scattering any potential evidence over a wider area. The type of parachute he had chosen, a military-grade model, suggested a level of planning and knowledge that belied his amateur appearance. Then, in 1980, a group of children playing on the banks of the Columbia River made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the investigation. They unearthed a bundle of decaying bills, their serial numbers a match for the ransom money paid to Cooper. The discovery, while reigniting hopes of solving the case, only deepened the mystery. How had the money ended up there? Had Cooper survived the jump, only to perish later? Or had it been planted, a deliberate red herring designed to mislead the authorities? The discovery of the ransom money, far from providing answers, only served to generate more questions, adding another layer of intrigue to the already captivating tale of D.B. Cooper. Despite the exhaustive investigation, the countless man-hours expended, and the tantalizing clues that surfaced over the years, the mystery of D.B. Cooper's disappearance remains unsolved. He became a phantom, a ghost story whispered in bars and diners across the Pacific Northwest, his legend growing with each passing year. Theories abound, each one more outlandish than the last, fueled by speculation, conjecture, and a healthy dose of American fascination with the unknown. Some believe that Cooper, a skilled skydiver or a paratrooper with military training, survived the jump and lived out his days in anonymity, his secret fortune safely stashed away. Others speculate that he met a more tragic end, his body lost forever in the unforgiving wilderness, his bones slowly reclaimed by the elements. The passage of time, far from diminishing the intrigue surrounding D.B. Cooper, has only served to solidify his place in American folklore. He became a cultural icon, his story inspiring books, movies, documentaries, and countless armchair detectives, all captivated by the enigma of the man who vanished into thin air. D.B. Cooper, the man who hijacked a plane with a note and a dream, continues to haunt the American psyche, his tale a reminder that some mysteries, no matter how meticulously investigated, are destined to remain unsolved, their secrets locked away in the vault of history. The audacity of D.B. Cooper's crime, his meticulous planning, and flawless execution suggest he was no amateur, but a seasoned professional. His choice of Flight 305, a Boeing 727 with an aft air stair, was no accident. Cooper's calm demeanor and knowledge of skydiving practices suggest a military or intelligence background. The Mastermind theory speculates he assumed a new identity, living a new life far from scrutiny. The enduring mystery of D.B. Cooper's true identity continues to captivate. While the image of D.B. Cooper as a criminal mastermind has captured the public imagination, a more pragmatic theory suggests a far less glamorous and ultimately tragic end for the daring hijacker. Cooper, despite his meticulous planning, fell victim to the unforgiving forces of nature, his escape ending in a lonely demise in the Pacific Northwest wilderness. The enduring mystery of D.B. Cooper has spawned a multitude of theories, each attempting to shed light on the enigma of his disappearance. Cooper's fate remains a mystery, lost between meticulous planning and chance. Did he survive the jump, or succumb to the elements? The lack of evidence suggests his story may forever remain a secret, a tale whispered on the wind. The saga of D.B. Cooper, a tale of audacity and enigma, continues to grip the imagination decades after that stormy November night. He has become a modern-day folk hero, a symbol of daring and mystery. Cooper's story is a shared cultural touchstone, whispered around campfires, debated in forums, and revisited in documentaries, books, and films. The enduring fascination with D.B. Cooper speaks to a deeper human need to solve mysteries. He represents the ultimate escape, a triumph of individual cunning over institutions. Cooper's legacy extends into popular culture, inspiring songs, artwork, and a festival. He has become a mythical figure, a phantom felt in whispers and curious gazes. The case, closed by the FBI in 2016, remains open in many hearts and minds. D.B. Cooper, the man who vanished, continues to challenge our perceptions and fuel our imaginations.